Hey everybody, I'm Matt Zaffino, Chief Meteorologist at KGW TV, and the Farmers Almanac forecast is out for the upcoming winter. Not to be confused with the old Farmers Almanac forecast. Why do we need two Farmers Almanacs? I'm not exactly sure. Maybe the old one is for older farmers. Maybe the new one is for like Gen Y, Gen Z, millennial farmers. Not exactly sure what that is. This one though, I gotta tell you, I used to pore over this as a kid. Before I knew a mesocyclone from a millibar, or any other bar for that matter, I used to dig into this and be like, okay, there's going to be a snowstorm between January 11th and the 14th, and yes, and we're going to get out of school, and it hardly ever happened. Anyway, that's not the one we're looking at. We're looking at the forecast from the Farmers Almanac for this upcoming winter, 2024-2025. So here's what that looks like, according to the Farmers Almanac, not the old, but the new Farmers Almanac, and this is done by a forecaster named Caleb Weatherby. That's a pseudonym, not his real name. His name has been changed to protect the innocence of his forecast or the sanctity of their forecast process or something like that. Pseudonym. It's not a bad idea, you know? Like when I get my forecast wrong, I'd be like, no, it's not my forecast. That was like Mark McWeatherbuzz's forecast. No idea where that forecast came from. What's this guy using to forecast anyway, like tide tables? Okay, seriously though, back to their forecast here, saying it's going to be chilly and wet in the northwest. Newsflash, most of our winters are. Average temperatures and precip down in the southwest, near normal to below normal precipitation down in Texas, the deep south mild and wet, and then a mix of mild wet, cold and wet from the Midwest up into the Northeast. Which is interesting because this looks a lot like the La Nina forecast. We are going into a La Nina year, and just to remind you what that is, it's a change in the ocean temperature pattern across the equatorial Pacific. And when we get a buildup of very cold water here, pushes the warm water farther on off to the west, that in turn changes the position of the jet stream across the Pacific Ocean and downstream across North America, and usually, on average, ends up in a pattern that looks like this. Cool and wet in the northwest, lots of snow in the upper Midwest, but warm and dry in the deep south from Texas down into the deep south, and then a mix in the northeast and the upper Midwest because you can get snowstorms, ice storms, and a lot of variability there. So that's the typical La Nina forecast, and this is the Farmers Almanac forecast, and I don't know, I think they look pretty similar here. Near to below normal precipitation across Texas and the deep south, or at least part of it. Chilly and wet here in the northwest. Lots of mountain snow, lots of snow in the upper Midwest. Again, to flip back to the typical La Nina pattern and now to the Farmers Almanac pattern, I think they look pretty similar. Of course, again, we don't know exactly what they use to forecast this because it's secret and proprietary. They don't tell us other than the fact that they use a little La Nina. I think they use a lot of La Nina. And they use some lunar cycles maybe and some solar cycles. Now, there have been studies done about how accurate these Farmer Almanac forecasts are. And I got a coin here, so let's just flip that. 50-50 is how that worked out. That was done by the University of Illinois, 52% to be fair and accurate on the Farmers Almanac forecast. So wherever you live across our great nation, hopefully you're seeing the kind of weather that you want to have during the upcoming winter.